Hi, this is Fred Sganga, Executive Director of the Long Island State Veterans Home, and I'd like to welcome you to our program today honoring the Dr. Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. He lived only 39 years. His life moved rapidly from childhood through higher education, through church employment, through civil rights leadership, until his murder made him a martyr. From his birth in Atlanta to his death in Memphis, he galloped through life. Like a man on an urgent mission, he had little time to reach his dream. Still, he found the time to love his wife and 4 children. He lived 1 year short of 4 decades. During that time, he led marches, spoke to the masses, won the Nobel Peace Prize, and met with presidents and kings alike. His academic degrees earned him respect from scholars and politicians. He stood up to injustices and iniquities through passive nonviolent means. His nonviolent approach encouraged comparisons to Mahatma Gandhi. Now America prepares again to remember the life and deeds of Reverend King. I am personally inspired by his words that ask us to judge one another by the content of our character versus the color of our skin. He also told us that our lives begin to end the day we become silent about things that matter. The significant qualities of this special man cannot be underestimated, nor can they be taken for granted. Within a span of 13 short years, he was able to make a difference in ensuring that the same rights be afforded to all American citizens, the rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. On April 4th, 1968, Dr. King was gunned down by a brutal assassin in Memphis, Tennessee. And while I had said that he was only 39 years old at the time of his death, those 39 years had changed America forever. We honor Dr. King today because he showed us the way to mend broken fences and to move on in building this great land rather than destroying it. Freedom rings across our great nation thanks to him. I hope that today's program will allow you to reflect on a life that was cut short, but a life that had such a tremendous impact on how we treat each other as human beings. Welcome again to today's program. I hope you enjoy it.
Hello, this is Chaplain Leonard, coming to you as we celebrate this day, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And as I was meditating on his birthday, and there's 2 words that came to mind: visions and dreams. And we know that Dr. King had a vision and he also had a dream. Now, visions are steps towards fulfilling a dream. And we have a dream of our country, our nation, and we are that great experiment of freedom and democracy in this world. We're that great experiment for brotherhood and sisterhood, being one another's brother's keeper or sister's keeper. And one of the things that we need to do, and I believe that we are doing, is building bridges toward one another to unify our nation. And that building the bridges helps keep that faith, hope, and love alive. And those are important things that Dr. Martin Luther King also believed in and worked towards. He worked towards that hope, faith, and love that makes a difference. And there's a saying that the only way that evil can triumph is that if good people do nothing. So we have to, be about letting our light shine and doing what we can, reaching out to someone, being compassionate, being patient with one another, and above all, never giving up and always believing that the light will break through the darkness. So as we remember Dr. King's birthday today, keep the hope and keep the faith and keep the light shining. And as we sing all the time, this is the chaplain song. this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Oh, this little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Happy birthday, Dr. King. My friends, thank you for celebrating this day with us. Bye-bye now.
How you guys doing, man? It's good to be back. Thank you for inviting me. It's my pleasure to be back here with you to help celebrate and commemorate the man, the legend, the late, great Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And we're also paying homage to you as well. So implore me before we start off with this virtual performance, albeit, I would like you to give yourselves a round of applause for all that you've done. All right. Thank you so very much. It's so deserving, and you deserve so much more. So I'd like us to start this performance off by all standing, if you can, or putting your hand over your heart, and I'm going to render a rendition of the Star-Spangled Banner. Let us stand. Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed at the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight, o'er the ramparts we watched, were so gallantly streaming, and the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say, does that star-spangled banner yet wave for the land of the free and the home of the brave. God bless America and you. Woo! Starting off our program, I'd like us to sing this song that was a staple for the civil rights movement and movement. We shall overcome. We shall someday. I can hear you all deep in my heart. Come on. I do believe, because I have a dream that someday someday, the next verse of this song is we'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk hand in hand. We'll walk Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe. I do believe we shall overcome someday. Grab your neighbor's hand. We will. We will. We will. We will not. We will. Someday. Now, if I can take it from here and say, oh, deep in my heart, I do believe we shall overcome someday. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome someday. With joy and gladness we shall, because deep in my heart, you know what I'm talking about, Long Island Vets. I do believe we shall overcome someday. Yes, we will. All right. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I feel your applause. This next song talks about who's really in control. Hey, he's got the whole world in his hand. He got the whole wide world in his hands. He got the whole world in his hands. He got the whole world in his hands. You know what I'm talking about. He's got the whole world. Come on, sing. In his hands, he's got the. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the. All right, we're gonna take it up. He's got the whole wide world. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. It's really groovy, baby. Woo! He's got the little babies. In his hands, he got the little bitty baby. In his hands, he got the little bitty babies. In his hands, he got the whole world in his hands. With joy, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole wide world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. You remember the 60s, baby? You and me, baby. In his hands, she's got you and me, baby, Sammy says. In his hands, she's got you and me, baby. In his hands, she's got the groovy whole world in his hands. He's got you and me, sister. You and me, sister. Come on now. In his hands, he's got you and me, sister. In his hands, he's got you and me, sister. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. My brothers, he's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got you and me, my brother. In his hands, he's got you and me, my brother. In his hands, he's got the whole world in his hands. Clap your hands. He's got the whole world. In his hands, he's got the whole wide world. In his hands, he's got the whole world. Hallelujah. Thank you for having us. Woo! How's everybody feeling tonight? Or should I say this afternoon? Uh-oh, let's take you. I want to do a little something different with you. Clap your hands like this to the sound of the drummer. Thank you. Now we're going to do another little special song here that everybody knows. This is going to sing along, they say. Because everybody's got one. Come on. Ooh. Woo. I didn't feel like dancing. You guys made me get up. So now I need you all to clap and sing. And sing. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Even in my home, even in my home, I'm gonna let it shine. Even in my home, what you gonna do? That's it. Even in my home, then let it shine. Let it shine. Oh! This This little light of mine, come on, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I think I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. You do this all yourself. I hear you. Yeah, yeah. Everywhere I go, come on, I'm gonna let it shine. I can't hear you. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, yeah. Everywhere I go, I'm gonna let it shine, let it shine, let it shine, let it shine. Woo! Give yourselves a round of applause as we let it shine for the whole world to see. Woo! Now, in this present climate that we're in, we know right now, peace is the answer. Communication effectively, love. And when you put those things together, I was born by the river in a little tent, and low like a river I've been running ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. It's been too hard living, but I'm not afraid to die. Even though I know what's up there beyond the sky. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Whoa, yes it will. Then I go to the movies and I go downtown. Can't nobody keep telling me don't hang around. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. You see, then I go to my brother. I said, brother, help me please. But he winds up knocking me. He knocks me down on my knees. And oh, there have been times when I thought I couldn't last for long. But now I know I'm able to carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change gon' come. Oh, yes it will. And woo, hallelujah. You can't end the night right unless you give honor to America. Let me hear you. What are you gonna do? Stand big and with the light from above. Come on. From the mountains to the what? I gotta hear you. To the ocean, white with. God bless America. I'll take it with you. God bless America, land that I love. Stand beside her and guide her through the night with the light from above. From the mountains to the prairies, to the ocean, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God, my home, sweet home. Woo! Thank you, Long Island State vets. It's my pleasure once again. I love you. Until the next time. Bless you all. See ya.
At this time, I have the honor to present to you the moral leader of our nation. I have the pleasure to present to you Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr.
I am happy to join with you today in what will go down in history as the greatest demonstration for freedom in the history of our nation. Five score years ago, a great American in whose symbolic shadow we stand today signed the Emancipation Proclamation. This momentous decree came as a great beacon light of hope to millions of Negro slaves who had been seared in the flames of withering injustice. It came as a joyous daybreak to end the long night of their captivity. But 100 years later, the Negro still is not free. 100 years later, the life of the Negro is still sadly crippled by the manacles of segregation and the chains of discrimination. 100 years later, the Negro lives on a lonely island of poverty in the midst of a vast ocean of material prosperity. 100 years later, the Negro is still languished in the corners of American society and finds himself in exile in his own land. And so we've come here today to dramatize a shameful condition. In a sense, we've come to our nation's capital to cash a check. When the architects of our republic wrote the magnificent words of the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence. They were signing a promissory note to which every American was to fall heir. This note was a promise that all men, yes, black men as well as white men, would be guaranteed the unalienable rights of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. It is obvious today that America has defaulted on this promissory note insofar as her citizens of color are concerned. Instead of honoring this sacred obligation, America has given the Negro people a bad check, a check which has come back marked insufficient funds. But we refuse to believe that the Bank of Justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. So we've come to cash this check, a check that will give us upon demand the riches of freedom and the security of justice. We have also come to this hallowed spot to remind America of the fierce urgency of now. This is no time to engage in the luxury of cooling off or to take the tranquilizing drug of gradualism. Now is the time to make real the promises of democracy. Now is the time to rise from the dark and desolate valley of segregation to the sunlit path of racial justice. Now is the time to lift our nation from the quicksands of racial injustice to the solid rock of brotherhood. Now is the time to make justice a reality for all of God's children. It would be fatal for the nation to overlook the urgency of the moment. This sweltering summit of the Negro's legitimate discontent will not pass until there is an invigorating autumn of freedom and equality. 1963 is not an end, but a beginning. Those who hope that the Negro needed to blow off steam and will now be content will have a rude awakening if the nation returns to business as usual. There will be neither rest nor tranquility in America until the Negro is granted his citizenship rights. The whirlwinds of revolt will continue to shake the foundations of our nation until the bright day of justice emerges. But that is something that I must say to my people who stand on the warm threshold which leads into the palace of justice. In the process of gaining our rightful place, we must not be guilty of wrongful deeds. Let us not seek to satisfy our thirst for freedom by drinking from the cup of bitterness and hatred. We must forever conduct our struggle on the high plane of dignity and discipline. We must not allow our creative protest to degenerate into physical violence. Again and again, we must rise to the majestic heights of meeting physical force with soul force. The marvelous new militancy which has engulfed the Negro community must not lead us to a distrust of all white people. For many of our white brothers, as evidenced by their presence here today, have come to realize that their destiny is tied up with our destiny. And they have come to realize that their freedom is inextricably bound to our freedom. We cannot walk alone. And as we walk, we must make the pledge that we shall always march ahead. We cannot turn back. There are those who are asking the devotees of civil rights, when will you be satisfied? We can never be satisfied as long as the Negro is the victim of the unspeakable horrors of police brutality. We can never be satisfied as long as our body is heavy with the fatigue of travel, cannot gain lodging in the motels of the highways and the hotels of the cities. We cannot be satisfied as long as the Negro's basic mobility is from a smaller ghetto to a larger one. We can never be satisfied as long as our children are stripped of their selfhood and robbed of their dignity by signs stating for whites only. We cannot be satisfied as long as a Negro in Mississippi cannot vote and a Negro in New York believes he has nothing for which to vote. No, we are not satisfied, and we will not be satisfied until justice rolls down like waters and righteousness like a mighty stream. I am not unmindful that some of you have come here out of great trials and tribulation. Some of you have come fresh from narrow jail cells. Some of you have come from areas where your quest for freedom left you battered by the storms of persecution and staggered by the winds of police brutality. You have been the veterans of creative suffering. Continue to work with the faith that unearned suffering is redemptive. Go back to Mississippi. Go back to Alabama. Go back to South Carolina. Go back to Georgia. Go back to Louisiana. Go back to the slums and ghettos of our northern cities. Knowing that somehow this situation can and will be changed. Let us not wallow in the valley of despair. I say to you today, my friend, so even though we face the difficulties of today and tomorrow, I still have a dream. It is a dream deeply rooted in the American dream. I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up and live out the true meaning of its creed. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal. I have a dream that one day on the red hills of Georgia, the sons of former slaves and the sons of former slave owners will be able to sit down together at the table of brotherhood. I have a dream that one day, even the state of Mississippi, a state sweltering with the heat of injustice, sweltering with the heat of oppression, will be transformed into an oasis of freedom and justice. I have a dream that my 4 little children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day, down in Alabama, with its vicious racists, with its governor having his lips dripping with the words of interposition and nullification, one day right there in Alabama, little black boys and black girls will be able to join hands with little white boys and white girls as sisters and brothers. I have a dream today. I have a dream that one day every valley shall be exalted, and every hill and mountain shall be made low. The rough places will be made plain, and the crooked places will be made straight, and the glory of the Lord shall be revealed, and all flesh shall see it together. This is our hope. This is a faith that I go back to the South with. With this faith, we will be able to hew out of the mountain of despair a stone of hope. With this faith, we will be able to transform the jangling discords of our nation into a beautiful symphony of brotherhood. With this faith, we will be able to work together, to pray together, to struggle together, to go to jail together, to stand up for freedom together, knowing that we will be free one day. This will be the day. This will be the day when all of God's children will be able to sing with new meaning, my country, tears of thee. Sweet land of liberty, of thee I sing. Land where my fathers died, land of the pilgrim's pride. From every mountainside, let freedom ring. And if America is to be a great nation, this must become true. And so let freedom ring. From the prodigious hilltops of New Hampshire, let freedom ring. From the mighty mountains of New York, let freedom ring. From the heightening Alleghenies of Pennsylvania, let freedom ring. From the snow-capped Rockies of Colorado, let freedom ring. From the curvaceous slopes of California. But not only that, let freedom ring from Stone Mountain of Georgia. Let freedom ring from Lookout Mountain of Tennessee. Let freedom ring from every hill and molehill of Mississippi, from every mountainside. Let freedom ring. And when this happens, and when we allow freedom ring, when we let it ring from every village and every hamlet, from every state and every city, we will be able to speed up that day when all of God's children, black men and white men, Jews and Gentiles, Protestants and Catholics, will be able to join hands and sing in the words of the old Negro spiritual, free at last, thank God Almighty, we are free at last.